The measuring spoon clattered against the metal bowl, echoing harshly in the quiet of the bakery kitchen. I clenched my hands, trying to steady my trembling fingers. I had made over 100 wedding cakes before, but none had ever felt as difficult as this one. It wasn't because of the technique or the client's elaborate demands, but because of the name on the contract, Ryan Anderson, the man who had once bluntly told me I would never escape the label of a small town girl with no future. I'm Harper, owner of the Sweet Spot, a small but cozy bakery nestled in the heart of Willow Creek. From simple sugar dusted cupcakes to extravagant wedding cakes, I pour all my love and passion into every creation. But this time, my own hands betrayed me. They wouldn't stop shaking as I prepared the wedding cake for Ryan and his perfect fiancée, Emily. You need to cancel this contract. Right now. Julia's voice pulled me out of my spiraling thoughts. She stood leaning against the kitchen counter, her brown eyes filled with worry. Julia wasn't just my best friend, she was also my right hand at the bakery. This isn't a good idea. You're only hurting yourself. I can't, Julia, I replied, my hand still stirring the batter. This is a huge opportunity for our bakery to get noticed. Do you know how many potential clients will be there? You're talking about the wealthy guests at Ryan's wedding? Julia sighed, stepping closer and grabbing my wrist, forcing me to stop. We're talking about Ryan, the guy who looked down on you, who hurt you. You don't owe him anything. I pulled my hand away, the stubbornness inside me flaring like a fire. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm not doing this for Ryan or anyone else. I'm doing this for myself, for the sweet spot. Julia looked at me intently, her eyes gentle but firm. Then, at least let me go with you. You shouldn't face them alone. I shook my head. There's no need. This is business. It's just a regular contract. Just a regular contract? Julia raised an eyebrow. You say that, but do you really believe it? Don't you see how they look at you? Ryan, his friends, even his new fiance, they all still think you're just that same little dreamer girl from before. I stayed silent, feeling Julia's words like needles pricking my pride. Yes, they could think whatever they wanted, but I would not let them see me hurt. I would show them my strength, independence, and success. The oven timer beeped. I quickly pulled on gloves and took out the tray of golden, fluffy cake layers. The rich aroma of butter and vanilla filled the room, a scent that usually brought comfort. But today it only reminded me of old memories. Memories of those last days with Ryan, when I had baked his favorite cookies only to receive coldness and bitter words in return. Don't let them hurt you again, Julia said softly. I won't, I smiled. But inside, waves of emotion crashed. They can say whatever they want. I'll let my work speak for itself. The afternoon passed in a blur of whisks and vibrant buttercream colors. Julia stayed with me until sunset, its golden rays streaming through the window, casting long shadows across the bakery's vintage tile floor. Before leaving, she reminded me to call her if things went south. When I was finally alone, I opened the detailed wedding cake contract. 6 tiers of white chocolate and raspberry, adorned with hand-painted sugar flowers in a classic and elegant style. The cost of this cake was probably more than the first car I ever owned. My fingers traced over the meticulous specifications, and the memory of Ryan mocking my dream of opening a bakery came rushing back. A baker? Come on, Emily. You're capable of so much more. Move to the city with me. I'll get you a real job. The old words echoed in my mind, but instead of bringing pain, they only fueled my determination. I picked up my phone and called Megan, an exceptional sugar artist I had collaborated with before. Megan, I need your help. Can you come to the bakery tomorrow morning? I want to create something truly special for this wedding. She agreed immediately. Her cheerful voice over the phone brought me a sense of relief. I looked out the window as the streetlights flickered on, casting warm golden streaks across the night sky. I promised myself that tomorrow I would walk into that wedding with my head held high. They could whisper, they could judge, but the only thing they would remember was the stunning cake I created. I locked up the bakery, shadows beginning to creep into every corner. In the quiet, I could hear my own heartbeat, each thud echoing with resolve. Tomorrow would be a long day, but I knew that as long as I held on to my confidence and self respect, I could face anything. In my mind, a strong and resolute promise resonated. This time, I won't let anyone underestimate me, Ryan. I'll show them all that the small town girl from Willow Creek can achieve far more than they ever thought possible. As my old Honda rumbled down the gravel path leading to the Adams estate, I felt my heart pounding so hard it seemed almost audible. The estate sat in the middle of sprawling grounds with pristine white walls, marble columns, and meticulously manicured gardens. This was the venue for Ryan Anderson and Madison Adams's wedding, the perfect couple in the eyes of high society. But to me, it was just a grand theater for a parade of pretense. I turned off the engine, took a deep breath, and opened the door. Immediately, the eyes of the elegantly dressed guests turned toward me. Under their scrutinizing gazes, I maintained a light smile, my hand gripping the portfolio that held the sketches of the six-tier wedding cake Megan and I had meticulously crafted. "Oh, look who's here, it's the little baker girl from Willow Creek." A drawn-out mocking voice came from ahead. I saw Ben, Ryan's best friend, standing with a group of people, a glass of wine in hand. His green eyes shone with disdain. "I didn't think you actually had the guts to show up," Ben continued, the others around him chuckling as if they had just heard the best joke of the day. "I'm a professional, Ben," I said calmly, "and I'm here for work. But I see you've kept your old habit of drinking early in the morning." A few in the group couldn't help but snicker softly. The smile on Ben's face stiffened, but before he could respond, a different voice cut in. "Emily Harper, right? I'm so glad you made it." I turned to meet Madison's gaze. She stood there in a simple yet elegant white dress, her blonde hair neatly pinned up, her face naturally made up, but unable to hide the traces of exhaustion. "I'm glad to meet you too, Madison," I replied, extending my hand. "I brought the sketches and sample cakes. I hope they match your theme." Madison nodded, a strange glimmer flashing through her blue eyes. "Can we talk privately?" "There are a few more details I'd like to discuss about the wedding cake design." I followed Madison inside the estate. The lavish interior was overwhelming, but I kept my composure. When the door to the living room closed behind us, Madison's demeanor changed immediately. "Would you like something to drink? Tea or coffee?" she asked, but I sensed something off in her tone. "Tea would be great," I replied, trying to keep my voice natural. Madison poured tea from a white porcelain teapot, her movements slow and deliberate. As she sat down across from me, the atmosphere grew strangely heavy. "Emily, I know this might be a strange request," Madison said quietly, her eyes not leaving the teacup in her hands. "But I need your help." "Help? What do you mean?" I asked cautiously. Madison looked up. Her blue eyes were now filled with worry. "My family. They're not as perfect as everyone thinks. Adams Corporation, my family's company, isn't just about real estate and investments. They've been involved in illegal activities, pushing hundreds of families into hardship for profit." Her words left me stunned. Adams Corporation was known as one of the biggest corporations in the region, sponsoring countless charitable projects and constantly appearing in the news with a pristine image. "Are you serious?" I whispered, eyes wide. Madison nodded, her voice lowering. "They buy up low-income housing, spread bad rumors to drive down property values, then use their influence to push local governments into approving new developments. They demolish community centers, schools, even public housing, just to turn them into luxury apartments or shopping centers." I set my teacup down, struggling to remain calm. And Ryan? Does he know about this? He does. Madison smirked bitterly. Not only does he know, he's involved. He helps my family handle the financial documents. He forges numbers to make everything look legitimate. A chill ran down my spine. Ryan, the man who once said I was too ambitious to stay in Willow Creek, that I should chase greatness, was now part of something so deeply unethical. So, what do you want me to do? I asked, though I already had a sinking feeling about where this was going. Madison looked straight into my eyes, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. I want to expose the truth, and I think this wedding is the perfect opportunity. There will be so many reporters, business people, influencers. If everything is revealed in front of them, my family won't be able to hide it anymore. But why me? I questioned. I'm just a small town baker from Willow Creek. Exactly, Madison said. They would never suspect you. Someone they think has no influence, no ability to cause harm. You could help me hide the evidence within the wedding cake decorations. Get it into the hands of the reporters without anyone suspecting. The air in the room grew heavy. Part of me wanted to refuse, to back away from this whirlwind of trouble. But another part, the part that had been hurt, belittled, underestimated, urged me to move forward. I need to see the evidence, I said at last. I said, my voice firm. Madison smiled, and for the first time I saw a hint of relief in her eyes. I'll show you. But think carefully, Emily. If we do this, there's no turning back. I'm already here, I replied, feeling determination to fill every cell of my body. And this time, I won't let anyone underestimate me. Madison nodded and extended her hand. I took it, a silent promise passing between us. We would do this not just for ourselves, but for those who had been crushed by the Addams family. And maybe in this risky game, I could find my true strength, not just as a small town baker, but as someone who could make a big change. As I left the Adams estate that afternoon, I felt like I had stepped into an uncontrollable whirlwind. Madison's words still echoed in my mind. They will never see you coming. She was right. Ryan and the Adams family had always viewed me as nothing more than a small town baker, not worth their attention. But they were wrong. And this time, I would show them my real strength. I returned to the sweet spot and immediately called Julia and Megan for an emergency meeting. We sat around the old wooden table in the back room, surrounded by the sweet smell of butter and sugar, but none of us felt at ease. I know this sounds crazy, but Madison is telling the truth, I began, my hands twisting under the table. Her family has done horrible things to get rich, and she wants us to help expose it right at the wedding. Wait, you mean we're going to hide evidence inside the wedding cake? Megan exclaimed, her brown eyes widening. Exactly. I nodded, then opened my laptop to display the documents Madison had sent me. She has tons of evidence, from shady real estate contracts to falsified financial documents. We're going to hide USB drives containing the evidence inside the sugar flowers on the wedding cake. No one will suspect a thing. Julia was silent for a moment, her eyes focused on the screen. This is a big chance to bring them down. But Emily, if we get caught, what will happen to us? We have to be careful. I admitted, if we fail, they could use their power and money to threaten and punish us. But if we succeed, we won't just protect many families, we'll also restore our own dignity. Megan pressed her lips together, then stood up and rummaged through a cabinet for a small silicone mold. If we make hollow sugar flowers, we could easily hide the USBs without anyone noticing. Julia stood as well, pulling out a notebook and starting to draft a detailed plan. We need a clear strategy from when the cake is transported and set up to when the evidence is released. And we need a trustworthy reporter. Madison already has some connections, I said. She'll make sure those reporters are at the wedding. We just need to ensure the evidence gets into their hands at the right moment. The days that followed were filled with tension, but also brimming with hope. During the day, we kept the sweet spot open as usual, serving customers with sweet cupcakes and aromatic coffee. But when the shop closed, we transformed the small kitchen into a secret operations center. Megan skillfully crafted delicate sugar flowers, each petal as fragile as morning dew, yet hollow enough to hold tiny USB drives. Julia coordinated with Madison, finalizing signals and the exact timing for the plan. I meticulously reviewed every piece of evidence, ensuring all documents were in the right place. One afternoon, as we were busy with the sugar flowers, the bakery door suddenly swung open. I looked up, my heart nearly stopping when I saw Sylvia, Madison's sister, step inside. "Oh, hello, Sylvia." I forced a calm tone, but my hands, hidden behind my back, were already clammy with sweat. "Are you here to place an order?" Sylvia smiled faintly, but her sharp eyes betrayed her suspicion. "I just wanted to drop by and make sure everything is going well. Madison said you were handling the wedding cake, and I want to ensure everything is perfect." "Of course," Megan replied swiftly, her hands never pausing as she decorated the sugar petals on a sample cake. "We are fully prepared. I promise you won't be disappointed." Sylvia moved slowly around the shop, her gaze scrutinizing every corner. "It's quite surprising. I didn't think a small bakery like this could manage such an extravagant wedding cake." Julia chuckled lightly, not showing a hint of worry. "We've catered many large events in the area. You can check out recent articles. The sweet spot has been featured in several wedding magazines." Sylvia stopped in front of a completed sugar flower, her finger gently brushing against its petal. "These flowers are exquisite. Can I see inside one? I'm curious if there's anything special about them." My heart pounded erratically, but Megan quickly picked up another flower from a nearby tray, one that did not contain a USB. "Here, you can see we use 3D modeling techniques to achieve such sharp details." Sylvia stared at Megan for a few seconds, then gave a cold smile. "I'm just kidding. I must be too sensitive. Anyway, I hope the cake will be perfect on the big day." When the door closed behind Sylvia, all three of us exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Julia placed a hand on my shoulder, her voice full of concern. "She suspects us. We need to move faster than planned." I nodded, my eyes still fixed on the door. "Madison needs to know about this immediately. We have to accelerate the plan before Sylvia can warn her family." Julia picked up the phone and started calling Madison. Megan carefully sorted through the completed sugar flowers, inspecting each one with precision. I looked around my small bakery, feeling like everything familiar had become part of a quiet battle. But I knew that to achieve justice and protect those who had been hurt, I needed to keep going. This was no longer just about revenge or proving my worth. It was an opportunity for me, Julia, and Megan to stand up, using our baking skills to expose the truth. We weren't heroes, but sometimes ordinary people could make an extraordinary difference. The wedding at the Adams estate unfolded under a clear blue sky, sunlight filtering gently through the old trees, creating a fairy tale setting. Guests filled the venue, their gowns sparkling with metallic hues, tailored suits polished to perfection, and classical music flowing softly from the orchestra. I stood in a quiet corner, my hand gripping my phone, waiting for Madison's signal. The six-tier wedding cake, a masterpiece crafted by me, Megan, and Julia, stood proudly in the center of the grand hall. The delicate sugar flowers, each hiding a USB filled with evidence, looked like living works of art. Just one signal from Madison, and all the dark secrets of the Addams family would be revealed. Madison appeared at the end of the hall, dressed in a pure white gown. Her appearance was graceful, but her eyes were filled with resolve. Beside her, Ryan smiled, his hands tightly holding his bride, completely unaware of the approaching storm. As they reached the stage, Sylvia stepped up to the microphone, her face radiating cold confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice clear in the spacious room, "before the ceremony begins, I'd like to say a few words." Madison glanced at Sylvia, and for a brief moment, I saw her shoulders tense. I lightly tapped my phone screen, sending a short message to Julia and Megan. "Get ready. I just want to thank everyone for being here today," Sylvia continued, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "The Adams family has always prided itself on honesty and transparency in everything we do. We always put the community's interests first." Madison suddenly snatched the microphone from Sylvia's hand, plunging the entire hall into silence. "Transparency?" She let out a bitter laugh. "Are you talking about our family?" The tension in the air was suffocating. Ryan grabbed Madison's hand, whispering something, but she pushed him away. "Madison, what are you doing?" Ryan's voice trembled. "I just want everyone to know the truth," Madison said, her eyes blazing. "The truth about what the Adams family has done. Shady real estate deals, community centers demolished to build luxury buildings, families forced onto the streets because they couldn't afford to stay." The guests began to murmur, many pulling out their phones, recording what was happening. "Enough!" Sylvia screamed, lunging forward to grab the microphone. "You're ruining—" "No, you're the one who ruined it," Madison shot back. "And I'm not the only one who knows the truth." That was the signal. I pressed the button on my phone, activating the USBs to release the documents. The reporters we had contacted earlier began receiving the files, their phone and tablet screens lighting up with documents, emails, and forged contracts. Ryan looked around, his expression shifting from confusion to panic. "Madison, stop. You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," Madison replied, her voice unwavering. "And this is only the beginning." The grand doors swung open and a group of police officers entered, led by Detective Collins, the contact Tabitha had helped us reach. He held up an arrest warrant, his voice calm but firm. "Ryan Anderson, Sylvia Adams, and all parties involved, you are under arrest for financial fraud, embezzlement, and public property destruction." The room erupted into chaos. Guests tried to back away, many filming and taking pictures, while reporters rushed forward, microphones and cameras aimed at the Adams family. Sylvia attempted to break free but was quickly restrained by the police. Ryan stood frozen, his eyes fixed on Madison, as if he couldn't believe what was happening. "Emily Harper!" Ryan shouted when he saw me standing nearby. "You did this! You'll pay for this!" "No, Ryan." I stepped forward, keeping a safe distance. "You dug your own hole. I just helped you fall into it faster." Madison looked at me, her smile gentle but filled with meaning. "Thank you, Emily. It's because of you that the truth came to light today." As the police led away the culprits, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. People began leaving the estate, the wedding completely shattered, but for me and Madison, it wasn't an end. It was a new beginning. 3 months later, I stood before the new sign of the bakery, now named Sweet Endings and Beginnings. The former Adams Corporation building had been transformed into a community center with the help of charitable organizations and generous donors. Here, we hosted cooking classes, job training, and support services for families affected by the Adams family's projects. Madison became my partner in the bakery. She left behind her luxurious but deceitful life to start fresh, and she did amazingly well. Megan and Julia continued to stand by my side, and together we didn't just make sweet cakes, but also built a real community. One afternoon, as the gentle sunset bathed our small street, I looked around the bustling bakery filled with happy customers and the lively sound of laughter. A group of children had just finished a baking class, proudly holding cupcakes they had decorated themselves. Their faces beamed with joy. Madison walked over, handing me a cup of hot coffee. "We did it, Emily. We really changed everything." The wind chimes rang softly as the door to sweet endings and beginnings opened. I looked up from the coffee counter, smiling to welcome a new group of customers. They were families who had recently moved into the community housing we had helped create. The children's eyes sparkled as they saw the colorful cupcakes in the display case, and I saw a bit of myself in them. A little girl who once dreamed of sweet things despite the injustices and hurts around her. Madison emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray of freshly baked treats, the steam rising in gentle swirls. "Who wants to try some hot chocolate cake?" she called out cheerfully. The kids responded with excited shouts. Watching the scene, I couldn't help but think back to that chaotic wedding day, the day all the secrets came to light and justice was finally served. Our revenge wasn't about hurting anyone, but about righting wrongs and bringing fairness to those affected. We didn't just reclaim our own dignity, but opened new doors for the entire community. The old Adams Corporation building was now a vibrant place. It hosted life skills classes, job counseling sessions, and play activities for children. We had transformed what once symbolized greed and selfishness into a beacon of hope and sharing. "Everyone loves your wedding cake." An elderly gentleman approached the counter, his kind eyes peering over his glasses. "You created a miracle, not just with the cake, but with this whole town." "I just did what needed to be done," I replied, but warmth filled my heart. In the past few days, we'd received countless thank yous from families we had helped and from those who had once been wronged by the Adams family. It made me realize that sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud or hurtful. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is living well and turning setbacks into opportunities for positive change. Julia came over, handing me a fresh newspaper. On the front page was the newly opened community center with the proud headline, "From the Ruins of the Past, a New Community Rises." "We did it," Julia said, her voice filled with emotion. "Who would have thought a small bakery could make such a big difference?" "Yes," I smiled, watching the customers enjoy their sweet treats. "And the best part is, we did it with perseverance, courage, and faith in ourselves." The sky outside was a deep blue, and the golden sunlight poured through the glass windows, casting shimmering patterns on the old tile floor. I knew the road ahead would be long, with more challenges to face, but now I felt ready to embrace it all. And in the warm space of our little bakery, surrounded by children's laughter and the sweet aroma of butter and vanilla, I finally felt a true sense of peace, a new beginning, a new journey where sweetness came not only from the cakes, but also from the hearts of everyone around us.